Okay, let's dive back into the scriptures now that I was rambling on. It says, thou shalt understand the fear of the Lord, verse 5, and find the knowledge of God. What does this mean? When I'm understanding the fear of the Lord and I find knowledge of God, that means I have a respect. I'm not necessarily scared of God. Yes, I'm scared of God. God has the rule and the reign of this. I either go to heaven or go to hell. So if you go to hell, hell with you, I guess, obviously. I mean, you're not getting out. There's no like return, through the exit door. No. If you go to hell, if you choose not to serve the Lord, if you choose not to be with Christ, you're going to go to hell. That's the obvious truth. If you choose to serve God and you're struggling and things happen and you're sinning, that's a different story. But if you're sitting there just completely rambunctious against God and you're totally just disgraced by even mentioning God's name, there's something wrong in your spirit. You have to check yourself on that. And again, it says then, on verse 5, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. What is he talking about? He's going back to verse 1 through 4. He's talking about how you hide the commandments within yourself. You're inclined thy ear unto his wisdom, right? Applying unto thy heart and understanding it, right? You're crying after knowledge. What do you do when you cry? You're seeking. You're looking for it, right? You're lifting up your voice for understanding. Your praise, you're worshiping him. You're starting to get to a point where you're not thinking of the negative. You're starting to think of the positive, correct? All right, verse 6. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. What's he saying? He's saying if you seek him, you will find him. There's been many situations, people that's worked for me, this and that, whatever. They've seen it. When I've prayed, things have happened. Why? Because when I say what God says, and I do and I act according to what he says, and I'm just human, I screw up a lot, but I still believe in the word. When I say what I think the Spirit wants me to say over a situation, when it's in prayer, whether it's fasting, whether it's just talking to somebody and kind of feeling somebody out and seeing where they're at, I get fulfilled in God's word there. I get to understand his wisdom. I get to understand his knowledge, and then I get to understand the word. And I get to understand why he was telling me the word that he was telling me. For instance, I didn't understand how to become this person until it was years upon years upon years, trusting the word, not seeing the word actually come true all the time, in my opinion, because I was, struggling and had a different mindset. I couldn't see clearly through what the word was saying. I didn't see the mysteries of the gospel, but what did I see? I saw my own ways. My own ways got in front of me. So I struggled, right? It took me many years. I've been serving the Lord 20-something years now. The first 15 years of my life, I felt I was full of rejection. I was full of, I couldn't get in front of a camera and talk like I'm doing now. I couldn't be successful like I am now because I was in a beginning stage. I was a little baby crying after knowledge. I was a little baby crying and lifted up my voice for understanding. Why was I doing that? Because I didn't know anything. I didn't know that there was a positive way to live life. I didn't know that there was a way that you can look past your situations. I didn't know that. All I knew is that I was desperate and I had to find a different way. And the pills weren't doing it. The meth wasn't doing it. The over drinking wasn't doing it. The girls weren't doing it. I mean, none of that stuff was doing it. So I had to finally come to a pureness in my heart and let go of who I thought I was supposed to be and start seeing what God wanted me to be in through reality. Verse 7. He layeth up upon sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. That's pretty powerful. He's a buckler. He keepeth the paths of judgment and preserveth the way of his saints. He preserves your way. Not one time in 20-something years that I've known the Lord, can't say it didn't get tight, but not one time did he not supply the need of the finances that I had to have. Not one time did I ever see him allow me to be hungry in 20-something years. I was hungry 5-6 times. I was homeless 5 times. I was hungry several times. I remember many a days that I didn't eat at all. Sleeping in a car, sleeping in a trailer I'd break into just to have a place to sleep when it was pouring the rain or something. I remember sleeping out in my truck and freezing cold, turning on the truck. Then I would get warm, then turn the truck off, then turn it on, wake up middle of the night doing that. Remember that. I remember my first incident in life where my first image was my stepdad shooting up drugs. I remember the spoon. I remember cooking up drugs. That was my first remembrance of life. Very first thought I ever had of life. And so the enemy had something set up for me. He wanted me to be no good. He wanted me to be a drug addict. He wanted me to be not successful. And he wanted me to destroy myself. He wanted me to pop needles in my arms. And if you're out there popping needles in your arms, you got to get help. You got to. And if you've been to rehabs 15 times, 10 times, whatever, that's fine. Keep going back. Because somebody that's been injected stuff through their veins is a little bit different than somebody just popped a pill. When you get that in your actual blood veins, there's scientific stuff, medical stuff, whatever it teaches you, it gets into your brain. And it takes a long amount of time for you to finally get your brain successfully okay. Like, it has to actually start working the right way. And when it doesn't work the right way, you go back. You keep relapsing. You keep going back into the drugs. And then if you get out of rehab and you should shoot up whatever, I don't know the stuff, but let's say 10 grams of it or whatever in your arm, and then you haven't shot up for 6 months, and all of a sudden you go back and you shoot up. That's where people overdose and die. So it's a dangerous thing. So God doesn't want you to get there, stay there. He doesn't want you to stay in that. So really, even really rehabilitation, it's not so much about just you getting so clean, but you have to start focusing on the real things in life, like God. Because there's a reality past the life that we'll have now. There's a reality of eternity. And if you don't see that there's an eternity, you need to look a little closer. Because eventually, like we've seen, our family before us have died. We don't have our great-great-grandfathers here, or great-great-grandmothers, right? They only lived to be, what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old? How old are you? And so our life's not going to be forever here in the flesh. Now we are going to be eternal somewhere, whether it's, like I said before, starting out, it's either in heaven or in hell, with Christ or not without. So it's up to you. And so what I would choose, because out of my testimony for you, is that I've chosen God. And I didn't do a good job at choosing God. I screwed up on the way multiple times. I've done so many wrong things. I've sinned more being a Christian than I ever really sinned being a young man, didn't know what I was doing. And so what God wants to do in your life, He wants to change you up to a place where you are done sinning, where you're done doing the things that you used to do, where you're done shooting up the drugs. And rehab is great for some people and stuff like that. But even after your rehab, this is when you have to start focusing on just really staying consistent on being with people, being with like-minded people like you, people that don't want to do the drugs, that used to do the drugs, that are now healed or now saved or now been delivered for 5, 10 years, whatever, 3 years, 2 years. You got to find a mentor. You got to find somebody that's going to take care of you, and you can call in the middle of the night. But just because you have a mentor and just because you have somebody that you can call in the middle of the night doesn't mean necessarily that you'll call them. So this is when you have to start changing your mindset. When you change your mindsets, what you have to do is start telling yourself, like the word says, you have to get involved with it, and you have to start telling yourself, I'm no longer this. I'm no longer that. I'm no longer bad. I'm no longer an addict. I'm no longer, a person in depression. I'm no longer a person that's suicidal. I'm no longer a person that believes in homosexuality anymore. I'm no longer a person that is racist, whatever it is. Just bringing up things, whatever it may be in your mind, whatever you struggle with. I'm no longer, an abuser. I don't abuse women no more. Whatever your situation is. And so it comes with just a change of the mindset. And I have to go back to this over and over and over again. When I allowed myself to become an overcomer through the Word, in my mind, I became an overcomer with everything. I don't fail. Now, I'm not saying I don't have problems in my life. Yes, I have some setbacks, stuff like that, but I don't stay there. And I shouldn't say I don't fail. I have failed. But I come up out of that. I don't stay there. I don't stay in a place where I'm constantly in the fear of failure. I'm always in the place of moving forward. And on my next video, I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to dive into some more on Proverbs 2. Sorry, I'm kind of long-winded there. I just like to get really excited about the Word. I like to let you know stuff, but I'm going to talk to you about a few more things and really help you excel to a point where you can look past where you're at. And I want to explain to you a lot about the mindset changes. Because when you change that mind, when you stop letting the people be in your way and all the negative thoughts of people telling you you're no good and all the whatever. For instance, my stepdad used to tell me I was no good almost every day of my life. My mom told me this. I don't remember it. I probably blocked it out. But anytime I've ever been told I can't do something was fuel for my soul to say I can. So thank you. Appreciate you watching this video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you're going through, and I'll be more glad to kind of comment back to you and kind of touch base with you. See you in the next one.